Was the destruction of Metropolis Superman's fault?
Yes, of course.
No, I don't think so.
Of course. Indirectly,
What do you mean by
it's
that?
his fault. Yeah, of
Why
course.
is it his
Because
fault?
he's there. I mean,
He turned on the fucking thing, bro. When he accessed the ship, when he put his key in, that's
okay.
that's what brought General Zod to Earth in the first place, bro. He sent a beacon.
Well, how was he supposed to know that?
Regardless, it's his fault.
Man of Steel is a very divisive movie. Audiences either love it or hate it. One thing everyone can agree the film does well is spark debate about not just the content of the film, but also the creative choices made throughout the movie. One of these hotly debated topics is about the destruction that Zod brought to Earth and to Metropolis, and whether or not it was Superman's fault. This topic was brought up during the podcast I did on Man of Steel a couple months back. Some critics put the blame on Superman because he activated the scout ship, and that caused Zod and his crew to pull up to Earth. I think that idea is dumb. This video will look into the 4 ways someone can be at fault for something and why none of these reasons apply to Man of Steel's Superman. And at the end, I'll reveal the true culprit of the disaster that ensued in Metropolis. This one obviously isn't the case, so I'll keep it short. Superman never intended to bring Zod and his crew to Earth. He also definitely did not intend to have Zod wreck up the Earth. Although Khaled did want to create a new Krypton, he by no means trusted Zod in taking upon such an endeavor, let alone destroy the planet in order to rebuild his ancestral home. Some detractors say that because a lot of people were killed during Zod's invasion, it means that Superman failed to fulfill his duties and obligations to protect the Earth and its citizens. Although that's a fair point, I think it misses a bigger picture here. First of all, Superman still defeated Zod, and the damage done by Zod is minimal in comparison to the damage that would have happened had Zod won the fight. According to Zack Snyder, the death toll in Metropolis was approximately 5,000 people. Although it's still a tragedy, it is tiny compared to the over 7 billion people Zod would have killed had the World Engine finished its work donkey fucking the planet. It's kind of like a soccer game. The goal of a soccer team in a soccer match is to win the game. Whether the score is 5-0 or 3-2, it doesn't really matter as long as you win the game. Second, you have to factor in the superhuman element here. We're talking about essentially 2 mortal gods fighting in a city, with billions of lives from all over the planet at stake. In comparison, Batman and most of his villains are regular humans who are limited in their capabilities. Although they can hit an absolute max level damage of a few million people in Gotham City or wherever, they usually have to have months or years worth of prep time in order to do so. And they can't pull the same kind of damage out their asses like the Kryptonians can. The definition of recklessness is behaving without caring about the potential risks or consequences, intentionally disregarding the well-being of oneself or others. Let's look at this aspect in both ways. Firstly, Superman couldn't have been reckless when he activated the scout ship, because he wouldn't have known that a distress signal existed on the ship, and that it would send a signal to a genocidal Kryptonian general. Recklessness requires intentional disregard of any consequences to others or yourself. And because Superman didn't know about the signal, that doesn't apply in this situation. Second, Superman wasn't exactly reckless during the battles in the film, but rather inexperienced with dealing with a threat like Zod and his Kryptonian friends. Remember, this is the first real fight Kal-El is taking part in, and his inexperience in combat and with using his abilities begin to show, especially in his fight against Feora, but he prevails and defeats Feora due to his advanced adaptation to Earth's atmosphere. You also have to keep in mind that in big superhuman fights like this, collateral damage is almost inevitable. Look at the first Avengers movie. The big climactic battle nearly destroyed the whole of New York City, and yet I see no one saying that the Avengers wrecked NYC. The only part of the film you can actually point to directly where Clark was being intentionally reckless is when Zod kicked that oil truck at him and it blew up the building behind it, though it's doubtful that anyone got hurt since most of the citizens at that point had already fled Metropolis. All in all, calling Superman reckless paints a very limited picture of the events that occur in the film. For those who might not know, a negligent person is someone who doesn't take proper care or pay enough attention, and their actions or lack of action cause harm to others. It means not being careful enough in a way that could have been avoided, and as a result, someone gets hurt or something gets damaged. The question is this applicable to Superman in Man of Steel? I don't think so, and here's why. To begin with, Superman wasn't negligent when he activated the scout ship, more like he was ignorant of the distress beacon on the ship, which to be fair, no one would have known about. The military would have triggered it if they entered the ship before Superman, and they would have been very careful with the task, and still most likely would have tripped the distress signal as well. Second, you can definitely make the argument that Clark was negligent during his fights against the Kryptonians, when you factor in all the destruction done to the Earth. But that leaves out one major part in all of this, which is the fact that Superman is not responsible for the actions of Zod and his crew in the film. The Kryptonians have the free will to do whatever they would like to do. Or do they? Which gets me to the big question after all of this. Who is actually at fault? After all that is said, it would be easy to put the blame on Zod and the Kryptonians, but the truth is much more complicated than that. Kryptonians are artificially inseminated, meaning that their births aren't natural, but are intentionally designed, and they are assigned their roles in the society at the beginning of their lives. Zod was designed to be a soldier, a defender of Krypton, and he would do anything to achieve this goal, including, but not limited to, wiping out billions of beings for the survival of his race. Although I do believe there definitely is a level of free will amongst Kryptonians, the attempted coup by Zod being an example of that, protecting Krypton is something that is like an instinct that wasn't just imprinted in him from thousands of years of evolution, but also through genetic manipulation. Krypton's deepest desire was to perfect itself. The way that it sought out to do so was by perfecting its people, so that they can operate perfectly in the role that the society needed them to fulfill. The concept of a natural birth to the Kryptonians was seen as a heretic gesture, hinting that the drive for perfection might have been something coming from a religious angle more than a scientific one. That religious drive for perfection doomed Krypton. Now, what does this have to do with Zod attacking Earth? Earth is not just a place that Kryptonians can terraform to build a new home for their future generations, but also a place where everyone is born naturally. Kryptonians who see natural birth as heresy despise that a planet like Earth exists, and will do whatever it takes to destroy it. Zod could have asked for the Codex and simply used the world engine on Mars, but he went out of his way to attempt to destroy Earth instead. I believe it's due to Kryptonian culture and beliefs that Earth was attacked by Zod. If there was no drive to completely perfect their society, the Kryptonians would have probably left Earth alone and just come to get the Codex from Superman. Ironic, isn't it? The desire to make Krypton and its people perfect sent the civilization on a one-way trip to destruction. The truth always resists simplicity. It's easy to put the blame on Superman for the destruction of Earth, and it's also easy to put the blame on Zod for the same thing. Both of these miss the bigger picture. The question is almost always, how did Zod come to Earth to attack it? When the question that really should be asked is, why did Zod attack Earth? People like to simplify the truth and place the blame on a person or a group of people for their woes because that paints a clear target for their wrath. But the truth isn't an elevator pitch. It almost always has a nuance to it. And blaming one man for the destruction of a city neglects a whole lot of important factors that precipitated the calamity. I guess the lesson here is, always look into the things you hear, whether online or elsewhere, and ask yourself, is this really true? And most importantly, investigate the topic, learn about it, and use the information given to you to grow as a person, so that you can be useful not only to your friends and your family, but also to the community around you in order to build a better tomorrow for the future. Thank you guys for watching. I know that I said I was going to do a podcast episode on Breaking Bad, and that's still going to happen. I just wanted to do it when I come back from my travels so it can be the best that it could possibly be. I'll be gone for about 2 weeks, so there won't be any new content on the channel until I come back, so stay tuned. If you like this video essay and would like to see more, leave a like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. Also comment down below if you have any kind of disagreements. I also did a podcast about Man of Steel, so if you would like to hear my opinion about the film and the interesting back and forth that me and my guests had, click the link on the screen to check it out.